Every day, we build the world around us.
But who's checking in on us?
Welcome to Built for Us.
The brand new podcast.
Built by construction workers for construction workers.
It's our own honest space.
There's no scripts, there's no suits. It's just
Real talk about mental health, stress,
And showing up for each other.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 21 of the Built for Us podcast, the podcast for construction workers by construction workers. In this episode, we're going to speak about why, as men, we find it difficult to ask for help. And I'm going to throw this straight at you, Clive.
Well, thanks for that, mate. Yeah. This will resonate with you because this is an area that you've educated yourself on, and then now you go out and you help people. And I'm trying to do exactly the same. And it's because even though we recognize it as guys, and even if we're aware of it, we still, many of us, see it as a weakness to actually say, it's just a bit too much. There's too much noise. And sometimes it's hard because it might be close to home. You know, you might be worried about upsetting one of your loved ones, or it might be your children, your wife, whoever it might be. But it's because you think, well, how can I possibly throw my hand up and say, I just need a bit of a time out here. But of course, what we do learn, and a lot of us learn the hard way by not putting our hand up and not taking time out, is because ultimately it doesn't disappear, it doesn't dissolve, it catches up with you, and all of a sudden you learn that what you thought would have been a weakness to say, I need some help, is one of the strongest things that you can do. So I think there's a million reasons, but that's the first one that comes to my mind, that we still see it as a weakness.
Yeah, I think for me, as like this podcast is obviously it's for everybody, but it's for construction workers by construction workers. My experience is 20 years in construction. And for me as a construction worker, my mindset before I did what I now do today, I thought I was a bit tough. You know, like, and I think there's a lot of construction work. It's a tough industry. You know what I mean? And asking for help, as you said, you can look and feel a little bit weak. You know, like, I'm the provider. You know, like, I'm supposed to have everything together. I'm supposed to look after my family. I'm supposed to look after those around me, my parents, my mum. If I ain't got it together, then who's going to look after them? And that's why a lot of guys don't actually say anything. And for me as well, when I was really struggling, I didn't say anything because I didn't want to worry anybody. You know, like, I didn't want someone to worry about me. I didn't want them to be thinking what I wanted them to just get on with their lives and be all right. Yet I was dying inside, and I'm smiling and saying, yeah, I'm good. I'm all right. I'm fine. Because I didn't want to worry anybody. But again, at the same time, I'm not a tough guy. Yeah, I've got tattoos and I work out, and I look a bit scary to some people, I've been told. But I'm soft as shit, and I always have been. You know, but I had that attitude partly because of my upbringing and where I lived, and then going into construction at such a young age. There's a lot of banter. I had so many laughs in construction. You rip each other to bits, but it's tough.
Yeah.
The work's tough. The people are tough. You know, the deadlines are tough. Contracts are tough, and you feel like you've got to be tough. And to admit that you're not coping at work, you're highly stressed, you can't do your job. People don't want to admit that, or to admit that your relationship's failing. It's not going well. Again, I don't want to admit that. I'm struggling financially. Again, I didn't want to admit that I was struggling financially, or that I had a drink problem, or that I started doing coke on a Saturday night and then I found myself doing it sat by myself on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You don't want to tell people that. How can someone become an addict? You know, like, how could anybody let that happen to themselves? That's what we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
But it can happen to absolutely any one of us, any of those things. And I'm now saying, and I'm screaming it loud, admitting that you are not coping takes strength, as you just said. Like, manning up to me, and I've said it in a lot of posts, in a lot of podcasts, I was brought up to man up, to deal with it, to get on with it. I now know how much strength it takes to admit that you are struggling that, or that I am struggling, that I am not coping, that I'm finding something difficult, that something's keeping me awake at night and I can't sleep. To admit that takes a lot of strength. And for me, that's manning up. That's proper manning up. Because I know once you've admitted that you're not coping and you've admitted that you're struggling, whether it is work, whether it's stress, whether it's financial, whether it's relationship, whether it's your health, your well-being, you know, there's a lot of guys who've not been feeling well for a long time. They've had pains, but they don't tell anybody because it'll be all right. It'll be fine. It'll go off.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't go off and it's something worse, and it's got worse because they haven't spoke about it. As guys, we need to start talking from the beginning. We need to admit that we're not coping. We need to admit that something's wrong, because with that comes help. And that help might not be directly. Like, I saw a couple of therapists before I found the one that I worked with. And it's the same with me. Like, anybody comes to me for coaching, I make sure I have that consultation with them so that I am the right person for that person. Because what works for one won't work for everybody.
Yeah.
And sometimes somebody will go for help and it doesn't really work, and then they give up and they're like, oh, I tried. But if you're not coping, find that right person to help you, and I guarantee your life will improve. You know, like,
Yeah, no doubt, mate. If I in this one conversation, this one episode, if I could shout from the rooftops to anybody and everybody that is listening and who will listen to this, I would say this: surrendering to your vulnerabilities is the ultimate life's cheat code. It is the cheat code. If you are strong enough and bold enough to think, oh, you know, what is that? Why am I so scared of that? Why do I feel so vulnerable? You face it, all of us on your own. I don't expect you to be tough and in front of people and you know, but in your own mind, if you can think, hang on, let's just break this down. What's the worst that can happen here? Okay, what is it in my life at the moment that's really making me feel like that I'm the only one here? And if this goes the way my brain is telling me, that life's over. Face that, explore it, and surrender to those feelings. It is a cheat code, Steve. It really is, because to say it's not, I'm not pretending all of a sudden it's not a problem. We have real problems, of course. People, this is life. Life's not easy, but it's never as scary as you perhaps thought. And you touched on this similarly in the previous episode, Steve, in terms of what can I do now? What's happening now? Because the past and the future are actually not real. And that's because the past's gone and the future hasn't actually happened. We don't know what tomorrow, none of us know. The only thing that we do know is now. Today, I'm here having a chat with you, sharing these pearls of wisdom with all these wonderful people out there. So, but I've had to explore what was making me feel vulnerable, and very, very slowly, and not always on my own, by the way, with help. What is it that's making me feel that I'm really shook? And it's wonderful. It's liberating.
when I speak for any company, like, I spoke to probably just short of 1,000 people a couple of weeks ago, and when I'm up there, I get emotional. I relive everything. I say it as it is. And when I come up, when I finish and I come off, few of the guys always come over. I want to shake my hand, want to talk to me. And one guy said, "How do you do that?" And I was like, "Do what?" And he's like, "Stand up there and admit what you've just admitted, the fears, the anxieties, you know, like everything that you went through. How can you stand up there in front of all these people and be so vulnerable?" And I'm like, because there's a lot of strength in vulnerability. Just like what you've just said, there's a lot of strength in vulnerability. You can admit your vulnerable side. You can show it. I said, me being up here is like a therapy session for me. Even though I'm going back over it, I'm letting them emotions out. I'm feeling it. As I mentioned, I've let go of the past a long time ago. You know, I focus on today, and I set goals for tomorrow, but I don't overthink the future. I just set goals towards the future. If I hit them, great. If I don't, I don't. But I focus on today. But yeah, I let go of the past. But during them talks, I have to go back to that time in my life.
Yeah.
It's the only time I ever do.
Yeah.
And again, I am vulnerable at that. But yeah, this guy said, how could you be so vulnerable? And I said, look, try it. I said, go away, sit with family, sit with friends, but tell them everything that you've ever felt, everything that you've gone through the darkest period of your life. Tell somebody exactly how you felt during that time, and I promise you, you will feel so good for letting it out. It's that vulnerability. It is a superpower. It's for any guy, women as well, don't know, but for any guy, we're talking about why the guys find it so hard to ask for help. And for any guy who is struggling, whatever it may be, and they're seeing this and they're seeing it for a reason, because everything happens for a reason, then just be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Whether it's getting in contact with one of us or whether it's speaking to a family or speaking to a friend. But tell them exactly how you're feeling, because I guarantee once you talk about it, you're going to feel like you've just dropped a massive, big, heavy bag off your back. Like them shoulders are just going to be like, because you've let it out. And we've spoke about it in previous episodes. But when we're not talking about it, when we're stressed, when we've got stuff going on, stress at work, stress at home, it's going into that backpack. And if we're not talking about it, it's filling it.
Yeah.
And it can be one small thing ends up in that bag, and we end up having a breakdown. Now we've both had breakdowns. You know what I mean? It gets too heavy. It don't matter how strong you think you are mentally, physically, it gets too heavy, and we break down. Now, talking about it, being vulnerable, getting it out there, it just releases that weight. It lets go of that bag. And
it does. And there's a lot of us, and I'm definitely one of them. I come from an era where, my dad, he was like the strong, silent type. He would not have even considered saying to anybody, let alone me as his son, but to anybody, do you know what, this is getting a bit heavy, or he would not have done it, whether that had been in his personal life, whether it had been an issue at work. He wouldn't have done it. He would have gone up to the top of the garden. He would have wanted not to be bothered. He'd go and play golf, whatever it was. He did not learn in his upbringing. He did not have the mental capacity to think, if I share this and talk about it, I might feel a little bit better. And it's not because he couldn't. It just wasn't ever taught to him. It was now, and yet we've got to learn from that, haven't we? We've got to learn.
But there is a lot in that as well. Like depending on what it is we're going through, what we're struggling. Sometimes we do just need our own space a little bit. Like get in the car, go for a drive, let it out, clear your head, come back. But sometimes when it's more than that, and having that little bit of time to yourself, it's still there. And then it's coming out as agitation and anger and resentment and all that stuff. That's when we really need to talk about it, because like even now, there's times I don't really stress no more. I've read too many books on mindfulness and meditation and stoicism and everything that I practice every day, gratitude. I truly don't really struggle no more about anything. But if there is something, I'll just grab my dogs and go for a walk.
Yeah.
Like send my dogs through the village, walk around the fields.
Yeah.
And I feel better for it. If there's something more than that, I now make sure that I speak to my wife. My wife says to me, everything all right? I'll be like, no, I've got this going on, or I've been thinking about this, and I want to do this, and whatever it is that's weighing me down, I'll speak about it, because then she'll give me it from a different perspective, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah.
But if you're not speaking to somebody, it just keeps weighing you down.
It does, and it keeps your mind closed, doesn't it? It's not just your eyes and your ears that are closed, your mind's closed. And then even potentially when somebody does try and talk to you, you're closed off. But if you can absorb some positivity around you, if you can learn from people that are maybe trying to show you a bit of empathy and it registers with you, absorb it. take it on board, and that might be the first step, because we are so guilty. We are all so guilty. Even you and I, people out there think that we've got it all sorted. We're sitting here talking about it, and it's, I went to a funeral yesterday, and it wasn't in the family, but it was somebody that I knew well, and he got a great grand old age, and he'd had a wonderful life. But I must admit, for a while I was there, and I was thinking, oh, and it makes you remember about your own parents and their future, and and all of a sudden there's stuff around that could potentially start to bring you down and get a little bit heavy. And I had to go through that, which I did, and I thought, well, okay, but why is that making me feel like that? And I came out of there feeling lighter because I'd had a word with myself, Steve.
Yeah.
Well, that guy had a wonderful, wonderful life.
Yeah, it was a celebration.
I've learned a lot from him.
It was a celebration. But
Yeah.
one thing is, because of your journey, you can recognize when you start having them thoughts, and you know to flip it. Like to think, right, hang on, my mind's going a little bit negative now. I need to flip it. I need to do this. For people who minds don't work like that and don't understand it, it can be difficult to get out of that negative loop, because, as you said, once you start to feel down and depressed, and you've got the weight of the world on you, all your brain does is focus on the negatives.
Yeah.
You're everything. Like why the whats, the whys, the what ifs, all of that comes into play, and it's really, really. But that's what we're saying. Like, if somebody's mind does feel that heavy, if they do feel like they're in that dark hole, then that's when we've got to talk about. No matter how hard we find it to admit it, and we know it's hard, we know it's difficult, but I guarantee that once you do admit that you're struggling in somewhere, you will feel so much better. And again, I've had many clients, my one-to-ones, who been in a really dark place, like I was, it's suicidal thoughts and all sorts of things, and they can't snap out of it, or they've tried and tried and tried, and eventually they've come to me, and I can have one conversation with them, and all of a sudden it's that light bulb moment, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they think of it like that.
Yeah,
I feel all right now." You know what I mean? And it's a minute ago you was in the worst place possible.
Yeah.
And now, just because you're seeing it from a different perspective,
Yeah,
you're in a good place.
That demonstrates how powerful your mind is, isn't it?
It's literally a switch. Like, sometimes you just got to flick that switch, and all of a sudden the lights come on, and you think, "Why was that bothering me so much?"
Yeah.
Like, why was I holding on to that? Why was I carrying that?
Yeah.
Why didn't I just admit that I was struggling?
Yeah.
And a lot of it, and again, we've mentioned, like, as a man, why do we find it difficult to ask for help? But there's many women out there too who they don't want to worry somebody. They don't want to. It's not so much that they find it difficult. They just people feel like they don't want to put that burden on other people, so they try and deal with it themselves.
Yeah.
But for anybody listening to this, for anybody who's starting to listen to us now, please just reach out. Like, my details are going to be on this podcast. Anybody can message me. Go to my website. Do message me in any way you want. Social media. I will help anybody. And it's not because I'm after people's money. I'm not. If it's just a text message, sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
But for those who are finding it difficult, please just listen to what we've said. Like, I'm not a doctor. Clive, you're not a doctor. I have got diplomas and level 2 in counselling skills, stuff like that. And, like, I've got diplomas coming on my ears, but we've both got that lived experience. And for me, that's more than any degree. Do you know what I mean? It's we've lived it, we know it, we feel it, we've got the empathy. So if anybody wants to take any of that advice from us off this, but just in person, then reach out.
No doubt. The offer's the same from me, and that's, as I said, touched on before. This is a community. We're not just trying to drop highlights out here now. This is ongoing work for all of us. Mental health doesn't. There's no just quick fix and then Steve and Clive have got it all sorted. No, life can still be tough. We still have challenges. We still have things that come our way. Christ, you know, we've got wives and children. Do I need to say any more? You know, it's
I've just put, when you said no quick fix, I've just put a video on LinkedIn. I'm not plugging anything. It's a video on my LinkedIn. But all I've seen today, and I've seen some celebrities who I think I liked them, but they stood there with the tops off and they're looking ripped and they're saying, right, DM me and I will send you the secret to weight loss and blah, blah, blah. And then you DM them and then they send you a link and then you've got to sign up for like however much it is. And don't someone just really gets on you, and it was like, there is no secret. The secret is there is no secret. When it comes to weight loss, eat less calories than what you're eating today.
Yeah.
You will start to lose weight. Get more active.
Yeah.
It will start to turn up. It's that simple. There's no hidden secret. And I've said on that video, any guy, or even anybody wants to lose a little bit of weight. I'm not a personal trainer. I'm a mindset coach. I'm a nutritionist. Anybody wants to lose a bit of weight, then message me. And I'm not going to charge you for a secret. I'll give you it for free. I'll tell you what to do. But again, that's something else, especially guys like over the age of 40. We become less active and our body starts to change because of hormonal changes. And we start to get a bit of weight around the gut area and we're little man butt. And then that can make you lose a bit of your self-worth and a bit of your confidence. And when we start feeling that way, again, them negative thoughts just start swirling. And then you lose you're telling yourself you've got no motivation to get up to go to the gym, or you're too tired. Now, for me, I've had guys in the 40s come to me and say, Steve, I've got a couple of kids, but when I get in from work, I'm absolutely knackered, and they want to kick a football about in the garden, once I've had my tea, I can't. I'm too tired.
Yeah.
And they're like, I've got no energy, and it's like, you have got energy. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. It's like, if I came to your house and you're sat on that sofa and I offered you 10 grand to go for a 5-mile run, you'd take it, whether you're tired or not. So what's that time where it's not about motivation, it's about discipline. And I think that's the same when it comes to us finding it hard to ask for help. Sometimes we've just got to discipline ourselves.
Yeah.
We've just got to, no matter what the man's saying, like, no, don't, you'll look weak, or whatever the man's telling you, go against it. Discipline yourself.
Yeah.
And ask for help, because it will change your life.
Absolutely. And we'll hear this all the time, but there's no such thing as a stupid question. No. You know, there really isn't, because, you know, one that you think might be a stupid question will lead on to the one that you really need the answer to.
Exactly. And again, when it comes to mental health, the mind is very, very complex. So is the body. And if it's not all working in unison and you don't understand why, then reach out and ask somebody. You know what I mean? It's if you're having this, but I had someone reach out to me the other day because they kept having a recurring dream. And they was like, what does it mean? And I was like, well, I'm not a dream specialist, but what I can tell you is when you go to sleep, your brain is just processing everything, what you've done through the day. If you're having that, and she explained what the dream was, I don't want to say on here, but if you're having that dream about that person, and then all day you're thinking about that why am I dreaming about this?
Yeah.
And what I guarantee, when you go to bed tonight, you're going to dream again, because it's constantly looping in your mind.
Yeah.
But if you wake up and tell yourself, it was just a dream, and let it go, it'll go away. But again, she said, I've got a question, but I don't know whether to ask. And I'm like, what do you mean? Just ask. You know what I mean? There's, like you said, there's no daft question.
No.
But that had been playing on her mind for ages and ages, and it was keeping her up at night. And it's just a dream.
Yeah, it's horrible. You know, the brain loves patterns, doesn't it? You know, and sometimes you're not recognizing that pattern, but it's a pattern. And all you've got to do, and God, that makes it sound so easy, and goodness me, it isn't. But you've just got to disrupt that pattern. You know, break it down and not necessarily analyze it, but be brave enough to think, well, what is it? And if it's something that you can just cut loose and leave in the past, you will sleep better for it. And it's because you've disrupted that pattern.
Yeah, 100%. Everything with the brain is about patterns,
Mm.
but there is neuroplasticity, and we can create new habits, new ways. A lot of people get stuck in their own routines. Just changing that routine a little bit can have a massive impact, positive impact on your mental health.
Yeah.
Even brushing your teeth with your left hand instead of your right hand, it makes all the difference with chemistry. So
No, you're absolutely right, mate.
I'm full of useless information. I don't know where it all comes from, but I've read a lot of books. But no, I've really enjoyed speaking with you, Clive. I am going to have to shoot off, but my message, and I'm guessing yours, is exactly the same. This episode is, why as men do we find it difficult to ask for help, to reach out? And I want anyone listening to ask themselves that. Do you find it difficult to ask, whether you're struggling or not? If you're listening to this, think back to times in your past. Has there been times where you should have maybe reached out, but you didn't want to worry somebody, or you didn't want to admit it, you was a bit too tough? Because we need to break that stigma, and it's getting more talked about now.
Yeah.
And organizations and charities like Andy's Man Club are making a massive difference. Lighthouse, all of them are making a big difference towards guys and mental health especially. But that stigma for me is always going to be there. There's always going to be that man up mentality, like deal with it, because we are the provider, we are tough, it's how we're meant to be. And some guys who think different, who think that you shouldn't talk about your mental health, because there's still them out there, and they say everyone's turning into snowflakes and all the rest of it. And ignore that, because I've been there. That was my attitude at one point. Again, it is so important to admit when you're not coping. It takes a lot of strength. But it will transform your world, as it has mine. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if I didn't ask for help in the end.
No.
It's only because I had therapy, and it put me on the path to doing what I was doing, is why I'm now where I'm at and living the life that I'm living. And I wouldn't have ever imagined this back like 14 years ago. I wouldn't have imagined it even possible. And don't get me wrong, I've been on a journey since. I've been up and down the last 5 years. 4.5 years ago, I was back in a single bed at my mum's. You know what I mean? We go on them journeys. It's about talking about them.
Yeah, well said. And my message is very similar, and I'll just refer back to, anybody that's listening, and everybody thinks that some of this might resonate. People like you and I, we have and continue to experience and recognize mistakes, failure, embarrassment, vulnerability. They are all part of life, and they do not mean that you are weaker or that you are lesser. They are not, so don't let them intimidate you. Don't let those emotions scare you. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're a bloody human being. That's my message.
100%. And I wouldn't change anything that I've ever gone through, because I'm who I am today because of what I've gone through. And that's what we all do. We take lessons from our journey. And because that's what, for me, that's what life's about. My soul is here to experience life.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all doing, the ups and the downs.
Yeah.
Just when you're going through them downs, talk about them.
Yeah. Well said, mate. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time again, mate.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And everybody, Built for Us podcast, please subscribe. Please tell your friends, tell your colleagues, get it around sites. And give us a follow. Help us to reach more people.
Take care. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for viewing this episode. We really appreciate your support. Remember, follow us, subscribe, share with a mate, join us live. Built for Us. Let's build something stronger together.